human self presents to me many challenges that burden me. My heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. An honor and a privilege to be here with you as always. I hope you are enjoying the energies of the autumnal equinox that dropped last week and riding the wave of coming into that space of balance and willingness to go within and do the deep work, right? Because that's what this time is for. So we took a break last week with the equinox from this arc that we've been in called The Keys to the Kingdom. And I want to finish up this week. I know I said 2 weeks ago that it was the last one, but I want to add one more on. So the series of episodes, and this will be the fifth in the series, has to do with, it comes from a book called The Way of Mastery. And in this book, we are told that there are stages or pathways that assist us as we are traveling on our ascension journey, back to remembering who we are, back to connecting with our true divine selves. And so we started out a few weeks ago talking about desire and kind of unpacking all the judgment we have around desire. Then we talked the following week about intention and the power of setting intention that comes from the purity of our heart, from the purity of our connection to unconditional love and our willingness to own that that's who and what we are. We talked about allowance, which is that place where we acknowledge that there is a power that to which we are connected and yet which holds all of the answers and everything that we need to be able to walk the journey with balance and ease. And finally, 2 weeks ago, we talked about surrender, that unbelievable place of expansion and acknowledgement that we are responsible for all of creation through the vibration of our thoughts, our words, our actions, and that we really have no control over anything except ourselves and the choices that we make, knowing that every choice that we make resonates throughout the omniverse. And that's kind of a really big deal, right? So, this last episode of the arc, we're going to be diving into this idea and the energetic of humility. Now, technically, it's not one of the stages on the ascension journey, but because it is included in the same lesson, in the same chapter as these other keys to the kingdom, it feels kind of important to me to include it and kind of wrap things up. And I think humility is something that a lot of us probably have struggled with because let's face it, how many of us have been taught throughout our lives to be humble, right? There's actually a beautiful country western song called Humble and Kind, right? Always be humble and kind. And whether we were told that with words or we were given feedback in nonverbal ways throughout our lives, we were always told, don't brag about yourself. Be humble. Don't put yourself forward. Don't let your light shine too brightly, right? And that Well, I'm not sure where it comes from, so I'm not even going to guess. But as I have moved through my own spiritual journey, one of the things that I have wrestled with is this disconnect, right? Because as I have walked along my path, I have come to realize more and more the truth of my reality, which is that I am, as are each of you, aspects of God. God is source, creator, creatrix, all that is. However you experience source energy, we are that. And so if God or source is light and love, and we are aspects of source energy, then we, by extension, are light and love. And why is it that we are taught to hide our light? Why is it that we are taught to, what was the song? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Right. And then there was a verse that said, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. Right. So, what the way of mastery tells us is that this way of thinking that we need to hide our light so that we won't appear egotistical, so that we won't intimidate others. I don't know why. This is what the way of mastery calls false humility, right? Because if we know that we are of the love and light of source, then saying that we're not, it can't be true, right? The way of mastery says that the way we move out of false humility is by acknowledging deeply within the depth of every fiber of our being that we actually, in our human experience, do not have the capacity to fully comprehend the vibration of love and light that is source energy. We know we're that, but we can't fully grasp it because we're still having a human experience. And when we recognize that, then we can step into what the way of mastery calls genuine or genuine humility, right? So the book says this: no single characteristic is of greater importance than this. It is called humility, not the feigned humility that is taught in certain world religions, but a genuine humility. Genuine humility flows from the deep-seated recognition that no matter how deep you go into the depth of source, and no matter how deep you achieve an awareness and consciousness of union with source, that what source is forever beyond your growing capacity to understand. It is like an ocean of infinite depth. And when you realize that, strive as you might, you'll never wrap yourself around that source, you will rest into humility, genuine humility. And so while we are that, right, the that we are is beyond our ability to comprehend. But just because we can't comprehend it doesn't mean that our light is any less bright. It doesn't mean that our reality is any less than our connection to and our being as the extension of source's desire to spread love throughout the omniverse, right? When we play small the way we've been taught throughout our lives to please others, or because we were told not to shine too brightly. That's false humility. When we hide our light because we're worried that we'll be criticized or judged for shining too brightly, or we're told, don't tell everybody how wonderful you are. People, you should never say how wonderful you are. That's too much ego, right? This is false humility, knowing that we are one with that source energy and really owning it and working every minute of every day to choose to be the clearest channels and instruments for the love of source to bring heaven to earth. That is when we are experiencing genuine humility. Great, lovely. Okay, we're done. What are we in? 10 minutes? We're done. Except that now we have to do the work, right? And we start doing this deep internal work of shifting from false humility to genuine humility by noticing, always by noticing how we're feeling. One of the really, for me anyhow, one of the really key indicators that I have fallen into the trap of false humility is when I want to share things or talk about something I've done because I want other people to know what I've accomplished. I was just having this conversation with somebody literally an hour ago, right? When I go out into the world and somebody says, "How are you?" And I go rocking and rolling because I want everybody to know all the things that I have done. That's very different than me sharing the things that I have done because I think maybe they will help other people, or I uh, I think that that vibration of joy will be received in a way that will enlighten or enliven someone else's space and someone else's experience. I have spent a lot of my life sharing things with people because I wanted them to say to me, "Oh my gosh, Penny, that's so wonderful. That's so amazing. You're so fill in the blank. You're so smart. You're so kind. You're so, you're so wonderful." Right? And I've done that for a lot of my life. And that's the false humility. Because what I'm doing in that space is I am giving my power away. And what I mean by that is that I don't truly believe, like I'm talking with every fiber of my being, I don't really believe that I'm enough. I don't really believe that I am source energy in human form. And so I take all of that power that comes with being source energy and love and light, and I put it out in the world because I need somebody else to mirror it back to me. And if they don't mirror it back to me, what happens? Oh my goodness, I go into a spin. So and so didn't say anything when I told them about the award I got, or I told them about the workshop that I just put together, or people aren't showing up for my workshops, or people aren't listening to my podcasts, right? I've given my power away because when other people don't respond the way I want them to, I believe that there's something wrong with me, that I'm not enough, whatever enough looks like, right? And you can fill in the blank for whatever enough is in your life, right? Smart enough, wealthy enough, kind enough, pretty enough, handsome enough, whatever, right? So this is it. When we notice that this is why we are sharing things out into the world, we can pause and breathe. And the next thing that tends to happen is we go into judgment. And we don't need to. This is all part of our human experience. Giving away our power is just, it's something that we do because we so badly want to be told that we are loved. Right? That's it. At the end of the day, right? Mic drop. We just want to be loved. And we want to know that we're worthy of love. And when we don't, it doesn't go well. And then those shadow parts of ourselves get stirred up. And then it really, really doesn't go well. Oh my gosh, I had this experience just yesterday where somebody did something that it really annoyed me. I really stirred my cheese, as my friend Erin would say. And instead of choosing love, I launched right into judgment, criticism. And even when I realized what I was doing, I kept going. It took me way longer than I wanted to come back into alignment with love, right? But I did eventually, and I sat with that experience and I had to ask myself why that had happened. And it was very clear that I was holding judgment against myself around what that incident had been. And this person was just mirroring it back to me. I share this with you as we are talking about humility, because I think we sometimes use those heavy emotions to mask the places where we are wounded and where we still want other people's approval, right? And we do that by, again, taking these heavy emotions and externalizing them, right? And what that looks like is I take the thing that I'm angry about and I make it about the other person, right? I take yeah, here we have motorcycles going on outside, which never ever happens, right? So I could be really angry about that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe people are doing that right outside in this community. Rah, 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 rah. They're going to ruin my podcast. It's my need for perfection. And so I could be angry with them. But what it really is I'm angry with myself that I'm not presenting perfection to the world. Well, I don't need to present perfection if I know, if I trust, if I believe that I have that potential within me. I'm not perfect. That is not my message here, my friends, not in any way, shape, or form. But I own that I have the potential, right? So we have this shadow aspect that comes up and we want to hide it. We want to hide that part of ourselves. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to acknowledge it. And so we criticize, judge, get angry with other people because then we don't have to look at where we're holding that woundedness ourselves. And that woundedness, those feelings of frustration, uncertainty, doubt, anger, grief, right? These are all the things that when we act out from those places, we can be pretty sure we are not in alignment with genuine humility. It's just not happening. And the way of mastery reminds us that when we hide those emotions, when we stuff those feelings down, when we move into and choose to stay in the mindset of being a victim, we are taking on false humility in order to feel better about ourselves. I'm going to tell myself how wonderful I am by creating a story about how awful they are. I know that I am so wonderful at creating a beautiful, perfect podcast for you all that those people outside who just rode by on those motorbikes are just, they're just terrible. But it wasn't me. It's not me. I'm wonderful. I'm good. When we step into that energetic of false humility, we block the flow of energy from source. You've heard me talk about this before a gazillion times. It's the hose, right? If you can imagine this beautiful hose that runs from source right down into our beings, and the energy flows, love just flows until we kink the hose. And needing to feel good about ourselves by asking other people to mirror it back to us, that's a huge kink in the hose. When we notice we have done that, and I'll say this again, we do it all the time. It's okay, my darlings. This is part of the human experience. This is just part of what we do on our journey. And each of those instances is an opportunity to use our tools, to pause, to breathe, to phone a friend, get on a yoga mat, sit in meditation, go for a walk in nature, whatever it is, right? And look inside and say, what's really going on here? Why is it that I think that I have to show the world how wonderful I am? Where is it that I don't believe the depth of that truth? Because if I did, I wouldn't need to prove it to anybody, right? The Way of Mastery reminds us of this. Oh, I love this quote. A master accepts the love offered and the gratitude offered by those whom his or her teachings have touched and gives it all back to source, recognizing that of themselves these things could not have been done. The only difference between being a master and being a student is that the master has mastered the art of always being a student. Humility is the recognition that the more you move into mastery, the more there is the desire for discipline and vigilance, the discipline of the mind required to recognize that there can be a delight in consciously repeating the decision to teach only love and to selectively choose only vibrational patterns in your consciousness to be allowed into your consciousness that reflect the truth and the beauty and the worthiness of who you are. When you are fully committed to that, rather than being committed to wondering about other people's opinions of you, then the power of Source can begin to move through you. Take a breath, everybody. What's the saying? What other people think of me is none of my business. And we don't need to, but I would invite you to begin a practice of noticing when you are grasping after other people's approval, after other people's kind words, after other people's affirmations of you, because those are signs that we're in that space of false humility. And when we get there, it's a flashing neon light that says, you can love yourself more. It's a sign that says, look inward and put yourself back together. Remember that you are an aspect of Creator, Creatrix, God, Source, all that is. Allow anything that does not resonate at that vibration to flow out of you. Use your tools, use breath to bring it in and wash it away, or open your crown and invite in the light from heaven like you're taking a beautiful shower, and just intend that that light washes away from you anything and everything that is not in alignment with the reality of who you truly are. Sit in your sacred heart space, open the portal, and either invite in the diamond light flow of the cosmic matrix, or step through the portal and just rest in that flow of love and light and let it wash away from you what you no longer need. Because when, my darlings, we are in this state of emptiness and complete receptivity, that is when the love of Source can flow without restriction, completely unobstructed. That is when divine masculine and divine feminine energies can come completely into balance. Right? We talked about this a little last week as we talked about the equinox. That is the space from which we can acknowledge from the depths of our being who we are, what we are here for, and that we truly are Source, forever extending itself as love. And then we choose. We choose to hold on to the security blanket of false humility. And sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes we need to do that to feel safe and to feel okay when the wounds are really deep. We might need to stay in that space for a period of time. And that's okay. And we bless ourselves for that. And then we take a breath and we choose, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. We choose to give back to Source everything that we have and everything that we are, knowing that we're not giving anything away. We're simply opening up the flow so that we can acknowledge that we are that. I was on a phone call just a little while ago, and I was shown this beautiful image of an infinity symbol. And the infinity symbol flowed from Source down into the brain, right? This beautiful, beautiful place of intellect and analytical thinking, and out through the back and in through the heart, and lit up the heart, out through the heart, back into the brain, wrapped around back up to Source. And this infinity symbol just kept going. It was just beautiful. There is no separation between you and Source, my darlings. So when we say, and I'm air quoting, we give it back to Source, all we're doing is opening up the flow and acknowledging that if we offer something back, we truly are just offering it to ourselves. We choose to breathe, to empty, to receive, and to connect. Because, as the Way of Mastery says, out of a grand emptiness, you will discover a perfect peace. And through you, life will express in ever greater dimensionality the exquisite and infinite love and power and creativity that is Source, until you know that Source is all there is. And that's what we want. And that's what this entire arc of podcasts has been about. We start with desire. What do we truly want from our hearts? We follow that thread. This is the goodie trail that's laid out for us. And then we focus our intention, always reminding ourselves to stay in alignment with love, to ground ourselves in our true purpose, our true reason for being here. Not to have the car, not to have security, not to have the house, but to be love. Then we release ourselves into the state of allowance, recognizing and acknowledging that there is a greater power at work, and that greater power is us, and we have everything that we need, moment by moment, within us to learn our lessons, to become masters, to choose love. And finally, we surrender, knowing that it is only in handing everything over that we can open the flow of divine source energy enough to accept responsibility for everything that we say, everything that we do, everything that we think. Because we know that we are responsible for all of creation, that our vibration impacts everything. And we do this not from a place of fear, but from a place of such secure knowing that we are love, that it becomes like breathing. And the more we do this, the more the path opens in front of us with balance and ease. The more we stay in the space of genuine humility, the easier it is to stay in the space of recognition that we are source, desiring to know itself as love and light. I always want to leave you with a practice, something practical that you can do, that you can work with. And this humility thing can be a little, well, at least for me, it can be a little bit tricky. So there is a practice from the Way of Mastery that I'd like to leave you with. And they say this: therefore, in your prayers, as often as you can remember to do so, remember that what you decree is. So speak clearly within yourself, saying, Source, Creator, God, Goddess, all that is, Abba, I am ready to be what you created me to be. I choose to remember that I am effect and not cause. Thy will be done, knowing that your will is my full happiness. Reveal then that path through which happiness can be known, for your way always works. So notice and note, my darlings, breathe and allow. Honor your desires, set your intention, allow the flow of unconditional love from Source, and surrender into the deep truth of who you are. As you do, you will be able to navigate whatever nonsense, whatever shenanigans life throws at you with much more balance and ease. Your heart will stay open, and it will become again like breath, to remember always and in all ways who you are. And it is my wish that this is how you would truly see yourselves: perfect, divine, filled with light, filled with love. I am so deeply grateful to each of you for spending this time with me. I am Penny Starhart. This has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. And until we are together again, remember always that you are loved and you are love.
This is who